The Blueprint of Resilience, a second chance at love and life. Welcome back to our channel. Don't forget to like and share this story if it inspires you. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. This design has fundamental flaws. It would never work in practice, Chloe Davis stated firmly. Her finger tracing lines on the blueprints spread across the desk. Ethan Hayes looked up, his blue eyes narrowing with a mix of surprise and irritation. He wasn't used to his work being questioned, especially not by a seemingly desperate, aspiring assistant. "Excuse me?" he replied, his voice cold. "Did you just tell me my design has flaws?" Chloe met his gaze. Despite the barely visible bump beneath her blouse and the resume folder clutched to her chest, she didn't flinch. "Yes, the orientation of the main structure ignores the natural flow of people, and here," she slid her finger across the paper. "This roof wouldn't withstand seasonal rains. The old Ethan Hayes would never have made these mistakes." A tense silence filled the elegant office. Her comment struck a raw nerve. The old Ethan Hayes, as if speaking of a dead man. "And you know the old Ethan Hayes?" he asked bitterly. "I know his work," she replied simply. "I studied your designs in college. You revolutionized sustainable architecture in the States, which is why these basic errors surprise me." Ethan stood and walked to the panoramic window. From there, he could see the city he had once loved to build. Now, he only saw meaningless structures like his own life. "The interview is over, Ms. Davis." Chloe gathered her bag, resigned. She desperately needed this job, but she wasn't going to lie about what she saw. As she reached the door, Ethan's voice stopped her. "I'll expect you tomorrow at 8. The Cultural Center project needs a fresh perspective." Have you ever faced a challenge that forced you to question everything you knew? How did you respond? Tell us in the comments. A partner's ultimatum and a life's downfall. That same morning, Ethan had a very different conversation with Liam, his business partner and friend since college. "This is your last warning, Ethan," Liam had said, placing a contract on his desk. "Either you get seriously involved with the Cultural Center, or we dissolve the partnership. It's been 2 years. Sarah wouldn't want to see you like this." The mere mention of Sarah's name was enough for Ethan to shut down completely. "Don't bring my wife into this. Someone has to," Liam sighed. "You were the best architect in the country. Now you barely show up at the office. This project can either save us or sink us. You decide." After Liam left, Ethan spent an hour staring at the contract without really seeing it. 2 years since cancer took Sarah. 2 years without designing anything worthwhile. His prestigious firm, Hayes and Associates, was on the brink of collapse. So what? Nothing mattered anymore. Chloe's world crumbles. For Chloe Davis, the day had begun with morning sickness and quickly worsened. In the bathroom of her small apartment, the pregnancy test confirmed what she already suspected. 6 weeks. When she called Mark, her boyfriend of 2 years, his response was devastating. "I can't help you with this, Chloe. My wife wouldn't understand." "Your wife?" The room seemed to spin around her. "You have a wife? I thought you knew that it was a tacit agreement between us." The call ended with Chloe sitting on the bathroom floor, trying to process that the man she had built a 2-year relationship with had a parallel life, and she had been nothing but the naive mistress. With no time to process this betrayal, she arrived at the translation agency where she worked, only to find her boss waiting with an uncomfortable expression. "I'm sorry, Chloe. We're downsizing. With your specialization in architectural texts, there's simply not enough demand." In less than 3 hours, Chloe had lost her partner, her job, and discovered she was pregnant and alone. A glimmer of curiosity. In his luxurious but empty apartment, Ethan poured himself a whiskey as he listlessly reviewed resumes for potential assistants. Liam insisted he needed help with the Cultural Center project. The name Chloe Davis caught his eye. Specialist in architectural technical translation, fluent in 4 languages, impeccable references, overqualified for an assistant position. For the first time in a long time, he felt a spark of curiosity. Why would someone with these credentials seek a job so far below their capabilities? The unseen genius and a raw truth. In their first week working together, Chloe confirmed what she suspected. Ethan Hayes was no longer the passionate genius whose work she had studied. His eyes reflected a painful emptiness. He arrived late, left early, and paid little attention to details. One Friday, after everyone else had left, Chloe stayed behind, organizing files. Opening a drawer, she found Ethan's original sketches for previous projects. The difference was striking. Those designs brimmed with life and innovation. The current ones looked like they were made by a different man. "What are you doing with that?" Ethan's voice from the doorway startled her. "Sorry, I was organizing and—" Chloe held up one of the sketches. "This rainwater harvesting system, which you designed for the Museum of Contemporary Art, revolutionized sustainable architecture. Why don't we implement something similar in the cultural center?" Ethan approached slowly and took the drawing from her hands. "That man no longer exists," he said, his voice barely audible. "Excuse my boldness, Mr. Hayes, but I disagree. That man is here." Chloe dared to point to his chest. "He's just lost his will to live." Their gazes met in a moment of tension and uncomfortable truth. For the first time in 2 years, someone had named exactly what was wrong with Ethan, without pity or judgment, just as a fact. "It's late, Ms. Davis. You should go home." What Ethan didn't know was that Chloe had nowhere to go that night. Her landlord had evicted her that morning for overdue rent. With her small suitcase hidden under the desk, she planned to spend the night in the office and find a place for the weekend. As Ethan returned to his solitary apartment, for the first time in months, he picked up a sketchbook and began to draw. An unspoken arrangement. Monday morning, Ethan arrived at the office earlier than usual. Something had unsettled him over the weekend. The sketches he had started on Friday night had awakened something he thought was dead. He stopped short as he opened the door. Chloe Davis was sleeping uncomfortably on the meeting room sofa, using her coat as a blanket and her bag as a pillow. He approached silently. Under the faint light filtering through the blinds, he noticed the dark circles under her eyes and the paleness of her face. A small, open toiletry bag revealed a toothbrush and basic toiletries. Beside the sofa, a slightly ajar small suitcase showed neatly folded clothes. Ethan backed away and left quietly. Half an hour later, he returned with 2 coffees. He left one on the table near Chloe and locked himself in his office. When Chloe woke with a start at the sound of the main door opening for other employees, she found the coffee already cold. She hastily gathered her belongings, hiding them in the supply closet. During the morning meeting, Ethan didn't mention what he had seen. Chloe presented the project's progress professionally, as if she wasn't facing a personal crisis. But when nausea struck her mid-presentation, she had to rush out. "Is the new one okay?" Liam asked as Chloe left abruptly. "I guess something didn't agree with her," Ethan replied, uncomfortable with the lie. In the bathroom, Chloe breathed deeply to control the nausea. This was the worst part of pregnancy so far, trying to maintain composure while her body rebelled. She couldn't afford to show weakness, not with a baby on the way and no secure roof over her head. The bathroom door opened. It was Sophia, the receptionist. "Chloe, Mr. Hayes wants to see you in his office. Now." With her stomach still churning, Chloe rinsed her mouth and headed to Ethan's office, mentally preparing to be fired. She hadn't even lasted a week. "Close the door," he said when she entered. Chloe obeyed, keeping her chin high. "How long have you been sleeping in the office?" Ethan asked directly. The question caught her off guard. She had expected a reprimand for her abrupt exit. Not this. "Since Friday," she replied with dignity. "It's temporary. I'll find a place this weekend." "And the father?" Chloe tensed visibly. "There's no father in the equation." Ethan nodded, as if confirming something he already knew. "I have a guest house on my property. It's unoccupied. You can stay there while you find something permanent." Chloe's pride immediately intervened. "I don't need charity, Mr. Hayes." "It's not charity," he retorted curtly. "It's a practical arrangement. I need you focused on the project, not worrying about where you'll sleep. The house is empty, literally collecting dust." Chloe stared at him, looking for any sign of ulterior motives, but she only saw impatience and something else, discomfort with his own gesture of kindness? It would be a strictly professional arrangement, he continued. You can pay symbolic rent if that makes you feel better. After a long silence, Chloe replied, until I find my own place. Do you think Ethan's offer was truly just professional? Or was there more to it? Share your theories. A storm, a secret, and shared vulnerabilities. The guest house turned out to be a modern, minimalist structure at the back of Ethan's sprawling main property. Equipped with basics but high quality, it clearly hadn't been lived in for a long time. From her window, Chloe could see the main house. Modernist, impressive, and completely cold, like its owner. That night, as she unpacked her few belongings, a sudden storm caused a power outage across the entire area. Total darkness disoriented her until a knock on her door startled her. It was Ethan, soaked by the rain, holding a lantern and some candles. The power will be out for a while, he said, entering without waiting for an invitation. The emergency generator only covers the main house and security systems. He placed the lantern on the central table and began distributing candles. Thank you, Chloe said, watching him move through the space as if he were uncomfortable on his own property. A particularly loud clap of thunder made her jump. Ethan looked at her briefly. Are you scared of storms? No, she replied with a small smile. I like them. But this baby seems to startle at loud noises. The comment seemed to discomfort Ethan, who headed towards the door. However, another power outage, this time in the main house, stopped him. Looks like we're completely in the dark, he said, looking out the window. The generator has failed. Resigned, he sat in one of the armchairs. The dim candlelight created a strangely intimate atmosphere. The silence stretched until it became uncomfortable. Finally, Chloe asked, what was she like, if you don't mind me asking? Ethan looked at her sharply. Who? Your wife. I don't know her name, but everyone in the office whispers about her. Ethan's face hardened. Sarah. Her name was Sarah, he replied, his voice tense. And no, I don't want to talk about her. Chloe nodded, respecting his pain. Another silence settled between them, but this time it was Ethan who broke it. And the father of your child? Is he really not in the equation? Or have you just pushed him away? Turns out he was married, Chloe replied with a calm she didn't feel. 2 years together and he never mentioned that little detail. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was my mistake for not seeing the signs, she said, unconsciously caressing her belly. But this baby isn't a mistake, just an unexpected turn. A lightning flash briefly illuminated the room, revealing Ethan's surprised expression. I never said it was a mistake. You didn't need to. Most people think so. Single woman, unemployed, and pregnant. The trifecta of bad decisions. Chloe smiled humorlessly. My mother raised me alone. I know what awaits us. Ethan remained silent, observing her. Finally, he asked, why architecture? In your translations, you could have specialized in any field. The change of subject was welcome. Buildings tell stories, she replied, brightening. When I translate architectural texts, I don't just convert words from one language to another. I convey visions, purposes. It's like being part of something permanent. For the first time since she knew him, Ethan smiled faintly. Sarah used to say something similar. That building was the most honest way to leave a mark. It was just a comment, but Chloe understood the gift it represented. He had mentioned his wife voluntarily. She sounds like she was wise, Chloe responded softly. She was, he confirmed, and for a moment it seemed he would say something more, but the lights flickered and the electricity returned. Ethan immediately stood up. Well, it seems the crisis has passed, he said, returning to his professional tone. I'll see you tomorrow in the office. As she watched him walk away in the rain towards the main house, Chloe wondered what other storms they would have to weather for the walls Ethan had built around himself to begin showing windows. In the solitude of his study, Ethan once again pulled out his sketchbook and, almost without realizing it, began to draw spaces that told stories, as Chloe had described. For the first time in 2 years, he worked until dawn. The cultural center was beginning to take shape, at least on paper. A dream rediscovered and a raw confrontation. Over the next few weeks, Ethan arrived earlier and left later. Chloe noticed the change. His eyes had a different sparkle when he reviewed the plans, and his hands moved with renewed precision as he traced lines and curves. One afternoon, after everyone else had left, Chloe entered Ethan's private study to drop off some documents and stop dead. The previously bare walls were now covered with sketches. Modular homes, water harvesting systems, structures integrated with the landscape. Nothing related to the cultural center. Fascinated, she approached to study them. They were designs for sustainable, low-cost housing, brilliant, efficient, beautiful in their simplicity. In one corner, in cramped handwriting, Sustainable Community Project. Cancelled 2022. She was so absorbed that she didn't hear Ethan enter. "What are you doing in here?" His voice, cold as steel, startled her. Chloe turned, her cheeks flushed at being caught. "I'm sorry, I came to drop off these contracts and—" She pointed to the sketches. "This is extraordinary. It's private," he replied, approaching to tear one of the drawings from the wall. "And it's cancelled. Why?" These designs could transform entire communities. Dignified, ecological, and accessible housing. "Because life isn't a fairy tale, Ms. Davis," Ethan burst out. "These projects require investors willing to sacrifice profits for ideals. And those unicorns don't exist." Chloe didn't back down from his anger. "There are foundations, government subsidies, cooperatives." "I already tried all that," he interrupted her. "Sarah and I worked on this project for 2 years. She handled the financial and public relations side while I designed." His voice lowered, laden with bitterness. "When she got sick, everything fell apart. And when she died, there was no point in continuing." The silence that followed was thick, heavy with contained emotions. "I'm sorry," Chloe finally said. "I didn't know it was a shared project." Ethan took a deep breath, as if regaining control. "Now you know. And you also know it's off limits." He turned to leave, but Chloe's voice stopped him. "Can I ask one more question?" Receiving no negative, she continued. "Would Sarah have wanted you to abandon this project?" The question seemed to hit him physically. Without responding, Ethan left the study, leaving Chloe alone amidst the remnants of an unfinished dream. A late-night revelation and a shared path. That night, a thunderstorm raged through the city. Chloe, unable to sleep due to pregnancy discomfort, watched the lightning from her window when she noticed a light in Ethan's study. Despite the rain, she put on a raincoat and crossed the garden. The door was ajar. Inside, Ethan was gazing at the sketches he had earlier tried to hide. "Sorry for coming in unannounced," she said from the doorway. "I saw the light." Ethan didn't seem surprised by her presence. "I couldn't sleep," he responded simply. "Me neither. The little one is restless with the storm." Chloe entered and sat across from him. "You know, in my work as a translator, I've seen similar projects implemented in other countries. I could translate some case studies if you're interested." She expected rejection, but Ethan looked at her with something new in his eyes. "Would you do that?" "Of course. This type of architecture is why I specialized in technical construction texts." She paused. "And I think Sarah would be proud to see her joint project realized." A clap of thunder shook the house, momentarily dimming the lights. When they returned, Ethan was standing by his plans. "She never gave up," he said softly. "Not even at the end. I was the one who couldn't go on." "Grief doesn't have a timeline," Chloe responded gently. "But perhaps it's time to build something new. Not to replace what was lost, but to honor it." For the first time, Ethan truly looked at her, as if just discovering her presence. "How can you have such clarity? Your life has also fallen apart." Chloe smiled faintly, touching her belly. "Let's just say I have a constant reminder that life goes on, whether you like it or not." Something shifted in the air. A silent connection. A mutual understanding between two people who had lost control of their lives for different reasons. "I'll show you something," Ethan said, opening a drawer. He pulled out a smaller, more personal sketchbook. "I've been working on this since you mentioned telling stories through buildings." The sketches were different from anything Chloe had seen in his professional work. The cultural center now integrated organically flowing spaces, areas that invited both solitary reflection and community gathering. It wasn't just a building, but a spatial narrative. "Ethan, this is..." Chloe searched for the right word. "Revolutionary." A fleeting hint of pride crossed his face. "Do you really think so? This design not only respects the environment, it celebrates it. It creates dialogues between spaces," she admired as she turned the pages. "The old Ethan Hayes is back." He gently shook his head. "No, that man no longer exists," he paused. "But perhaps I can be someone new. Someone who builds on ruins, as you say." A sudden gurgle from Chloe's belly broke the moment. She blushed. "I'm sorry. Sometimes my stomach sounds like it has a life of its own." "Technically it does," Ethan responded, and for the first time since she knew him, she heard him laugh. It was brief, almost imperceptible, but real. "I should head back to the guest house," Chloe said, standing up. "It's late. I'll walk you." The rain has worsened. Under a single umbrella, they crossed the garden in silence. As they reached the door, she turned to thank him, but the words froze in her mouth. Ethan was unexpectedly close, watching her with a new intensity. For an instant, the world seemed to stop. Then, as if snapping out of a trance, Ethan took a step back. "Until tomorrow, Chloe." "Until tomorrow, Ethan," she replied, using his first name for the first time. That night, as the storm continued outside, Chloe pulled out her laptop and began searching for articles on sustainable housing projects in Latin America. One by one, she translated and organized them into a folder, adding notes on possible adaptations to the local context. Meanwhile, in his study, Ethan contemplated the cultural center plans with new eyes. Almost without realizing it, he began to incorporate elements from his sustainable housing designs, merging his past and present into something completely new. Outside, the storm finally subsided, leaving the air clean and fresh. The foundations of something unexpected were beginning to settle on unstable ground. What do you think is going to happen next between Chloe and Ethan? Are they on the path to something more than just a professional relationship? Tell us your predictions. The grand presentation and a shared future. The presentation to the Cultural Center investors was scheduled for 10 in the morning. By 8, the office was already bustling. Liam obsessively checked every detail, while Ethan remained unusually calm, reviewing his notes with Chloe by his side. "Remember to emphasize the integration of renewable energy when you reach this section," she instructed, pointing to a spot on the digital model. "It's what interested them most in the preliminary meeting." Ethan nodded, watching her with curiosity. "Nervous? Me? I'm not the one presenting," Chloe replied, arranging some documents. "But you'll be simultaneously translating for the Japanese investors. Without you, half of this presentation would be incomprehensible to them." Chloe smiled faintly. "Then we both have to be at our best today." When the investors arrived, the atmosphere became formal and tense. Two Japanese businessmen, accompanied by their advisors and local government representatives, took their seats in the boardroom. Ethan began the presentation confidently, while Chloe fluently translated his words into Japanese. What no one expected was the perfect synchronicity they had developed. When Ethan explained a complex architectural concept, Chloe not only translated the words, but adapted the technical explanations to the investor's cultural context. When one of them asked a question about sustainability, Chloe translated, and Ethan responded as if they had rehearsed that specific exchange. Liam watched in amazement. This was not the same depressed and apathetic Ethan of the past 2 years. There was fire in his eyes as he explained how the cultural center would integrate local traditions with cutting-edge sustainable technologies. At the end, the investors applauded. "Hey-san," the main investor said in heavily accented English. "Your vision is impressive. It honors your reputation." After the visitors left, the office erupted in celebration. Liam hugged Ethan tightly. "You did it." "No, we did it," Ethan corrected, including Chloe with his gaze. You two make a formidable team. Chloe smiled, but suddenly felt intensely dizzy. The room began to spin, and her legs gave way. Before she hit the floor, she felt Ethan's arms catch her. Chloe. His voice sounded distant. Call an ambulance. No, I'm fine, she protested weakly. I just need water and to sit down. Ethan carried her to his private office and closed the door, isolating them from the outside commotion. He helped her lie down on the sofa and offered her water with trembling hands. Have you eaten anything today? He asked, his concern undisguised. Chloe shook her head. With the presentation nerves, I forgot breakfast. God, Chloe. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, visibly distressed. You can't forget to eat in your condition. It's not a big deal. She tried to downplay it. I feel better already. I'm taking you to the hospital for a checkup. It's not necessary, really. It's non-negotiable, he replied firmly. Liam can handle the rest of the day. A scarred heart and a growing connection. At the hospital, while they waited for the results of the basic tests, Ethan paced nervously in the waiting room. Chloe watched him with a mix of surprise and shock at his reaction. Ethan, seriously, I'm fine. These things happen during pregnancy. He stopped his pacing to look at her. When Sarah got sick, it started. But he stopped, as if the words were too painful. At first, we ignored the signs. We thought it was stress, tiredness. By the time we were alarmed, the cancer was too advanced. Chloe then understood the origin of his exaggerated concern. This is different, she said softly. It's just hypoglycemia from not having breakfast. The baby is fine. I'm fine. Ethan finally sat beside her, emotionally exhausted. I know, I'm sorry. It's just for a moment, when I saw you collapse. He left the sentence unfinished. You got scared? She completed. Yes, he admitted. I got scared. The silence that followed was loaded with meaning. Something fundamental had changed. Ethan had acknowledged that he cared about what might happen to Chloe. The doctor entered with the results, confirming hypoglycemia and recommending rest and regular meals. While listening to the instructions, Ethan discreetly took out a small notebook and began to make a quick sketch. As they left the hospital, Chloe noticed the notebook in his pocket. Were you drawing? Even here. Ethan seemed embarrassed but showed her the sketch. A nursery design, with natural lighting details and organic elements. It just came to me while we were waiting, he said, as if apologizing. It's silly. Chloe took the drawing and studied it, deeply moved. It's beautiful, Ethan. He looked away, uncomfortable with the intimacy of the moment. Come on, I'll take you home. A week later, Chloe had her first important ultrasound. She had scheduled the appointment during her lunch break, hoping not to have to ask for time off work. As she waited nervously in the room, she heard her name. Looking up, she saw Ethan approaching. What are you doing here? She asked, surprised. Liam mentioned your appointment, he replied, sitting beside her. I thought maybe... He seemed to hesitate. If you wanted company. Chloe felt a lump in her throat. I'd love that. Inside the consultation room, when the rhythmic sound of the baby's heart filled the room, Chloe saw something she never expected. Ethan, the man who had lost his will to live, had tears in his eyes. A starry night and a frightened heart. That night, he invited her to dinner on his terrace. He had prepared the meal himself, nothing elaborate, but the gesture was significant. Under the stars, with the city sprawling at their feet, they talked about everything and nothing. Their childhoods, youthful dreams, favorite books. When the temperature dropped, Ethan offered her his jacket. As he placed it over her shoulders, his hands lingered for an instant longer than necessary. Chloe looked up and met his eyes, with an intensity that stole her breath. I never imagined I would feel this again, he said softly. Feel what? She responded. A desire to build a future. Slowly, as if fearing to break something fragile, Ethan leaned towards her. Their lips met in a soft, tentative kiss that soon transformed into something deeper. When they parted, Chloe could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Ethan caressed her cheek with trembling fingers. I don't know if I'm ready for this, he confessed. There are days when I still feel guilty for breathing when Sarah can't. I understand, she replied, intertwining her fingers with his. There's no rush. But the next day, Ethan seemed distant again. In the office, he avoided being alone with her and answered her questions in monosyllables. The barrier that had begun to crumble seemed to have rebuilt itself overnight. A missed opportunity and a painful truth. Liam entered Ethan's office with an envelope in his hand and a serious expression. This just arrived. It's from Bemura Developments, in Tokyo. Ethan opened the envelope and quickly read its contents. His face darkened. What is it? Chloe asked from the doorway, unable to contain her curiosity. Liam answered for him. An offer to design an entire sustainable complex in Tokyo. Ethan's most important project since, well, for years. Chloe felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Tokyo on the other side of the world. It's an incredible opportunity, she said, forcing herself to sound sincere. Congratulations, Ethan. He finally looked at her, his eyes unreadable. I haven't accepted yet. But you will, she affirmed, not as a question. It's exactly what your career needs right now. Chloe, he began. She interrupted him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. We're adults. I understand perfectly. That afternoon, while everyone celebrated the news, Chloe quietly packed her belongings in the guest house. It was time to stand on her own. The brief moment of connection with Ethan had been beautiful, but fairy tales weren't for pregnant, unemployed women, or at least that's what she believed. Building anew. A rejection, a revelation, and a new path for Chloe. The apartment Chloe found was in a neighborhood far from downtown, but it was clean and well lit. Small, with just the basics, but it was hers. At least for now. After a week of silence, she had sent a formal message to Ethan, thanking him for his hospitality and announcing that she no longer needed the guest house. His response was equally formal, a terse understood that seemed to close all the doors that had opened between them. Chloe looked at herself in the mirror, caressing her now more prominent belly. For months pregnant, and she was starting a new life for the third time in a short period. First, when she discovered her pregnancy and Mark's betrayal. Second, when she began working with Ethan. Third, now completely on her own. Her phone rang. It was Sophia, the receptionist at Hayes & Associates. Have you seen the news? She asked without a greeting. What news? Ethan rejected the Tokyo project. Liam is furious. They say they had a huge argument. Chloe slowly sat on the edge of the bed, processing the information. He rejected Tokyo? Why would he do something like that? No one knows. He just said he had more important projects here. Sophia paused. Chloe, everyone at the office thinks it's because of you. That's ridiculous, she responded automatically. Ethan and we're colleagues, nothing more. After hanging up, Chloe remained motionless, trying to understand. Had he rejected the opportunity of a lifetime for her? Or was he simply not ready for such a drastic change after years of stagnation? Her phone rang again. This time it was International Publishing, for whom she had done a translation test weeks ago. They offered her a permanent position as a specialized technical and architectural translator, with the flexibility to work from home. Life moved on with or without Ethan Hayes. Meanwhile, Ethan plunged into the Cultural Center project with almost obsessive intensity. The final plans were spectacular. A building that seemed to emerge organically from the landscape, incorporating traditional local elements with the most advanced sustainable technologies. The project attracted media attention. After years of absence, Ethan Hayes' name was once again echoing in architectural circles. A friend's insight and Ethan's confession. One afternoon, while working alone in his study, Liam entered without announcing himself. You still haven't explained why you rejected Tokyo, he said directly. It was the perfect project for your international comeback. Ethan continued drawing without looking up. I told you I have commitments here. Are you referring to Chloe? Ethan's pencil paused for an instant. I don't know what you're talking about. Liam sighed. exasperated. Ethan, I've known you since college. You were dead inside after losing Sarah. And suddenly this woman appears, and you're designing like before. Coincidence, right? Cut it out, Liam. And now she leaves, and you reject the biggest opportunity of your career. Another coincidence, I suppose. Ethan finally looked at him. What do you want me to say? That I'm scared. That I don't know how to handle this. His voice rose. That I'm terrified of feeling something for someone after what happened with Sarah? Liam smiled faintly. That's an honest start. Ethan slumped in his chair, suddenly exhausted. I can't go through that again, Liam. Losing someone like that. But you already lost her, didn't you? By not fighting for her. Liam left an envelope on the desk before leaving. By the way, Contemporary Architecture magazine wants to interview you. The Cultural Center is generating a lot of buzz. Chloe's growing strength and Ethan's public declaration. Chloe found a support group for single mothers. Every Tuesday they met to share experiences, advice, and simply feel accompanied. For the first time since discovering her pregnancy, she didn't feel alone in her situation. Her work at the publishing house was going well. She had established a comfortable routine, morning walks, work until mid-afternoon, and preparations for the baby's arrival. Her belly grew as her self-confidence strengthened. She could do this. She could be a single mother and a successful professional. Some days she almost managed not to think about Ethan. One Tuesday afternoon, after her support group meeting, she turned on the television while making tea. She stopped short when she heard a familiar voice. On the screen, Ethan was giving an interview about the Cultural Center. It represents a return to the fundamental principles that have always guided my work, he explained with a passion Chloe recognized. Architecture must tell stories, create connections, provide both shelter and inspiration. And to what do you attribute this creative rebirth after years of absence? The interviewer asked. Ethan paused, a pause that seemed eternal. Sometimes we need someone to remind us why we started in the first place. Someone who sees potential where we only see ruins. A murmur went through the audience. This was not the cold, technical speech they expected from the renowned architect. This building exists because someone reminded me why I started designing in the first place. Not to win awards or recognition, but to create spaces where people can live, dream, connect. He paused. If you look closely, you'll see that every detail tells a story of loss and recovery, of endings that become new beginnings. When his speech ended, the applause was deafening. Cameras and microphones immediately surrounded him, but Ethan excused himself and pushed his way through the crowd towards where Chloe was. What did you think? He asked when he reached her side. Pretty sentimental for a minimalist architect, she replied with a smile. I have a reputation to maintain, he joked, taking Lily from her arms. Hello, princess. Do you like Daddy's building? The word daddy floated between them like a promise. A father's love and a heart's awakening. In the past months, Ethan had been a constant, yet cautious, presence in their lives. Daily visits turned into family dinners, and then into evenings where he stayed late, talking with Chloe after putting Lily to bed. They were building something together, with the same patience and care that a complex structure required. I want to show you something, Ethan said after the official reception. Can you come with me for a moment? Chloe nodded, leaving Lily with Maria. Ethan guided her through the new building, past the public areas, until they reached a hidden inner garden that was not part of the official tour. The space was intimate and surprisingly tranquil, despite the nearby crowd. A small pond reflected the sky, surrounded by native vegetation and strategically placed stone benches. This space wasn't in the original plans, Chloe explained, recognizing the deviation. I added it later, Ethan confirmed. I called it Chloe's garden. She looked at him, surprised. Why? Because it's a space that exists between two worlds, like you existed between my past and my future. Ethan took her hands. This place doesn't appear on official tours. It's a secret known only by those who truly seek a space to heal. Chloe observed the details, the interplay of light and shadow, the soft sound of water, the way everything invited reflection without inducing melancholy. "It's beautiful," she finally said. "Just like you," Ethan replied, moving closer. "Chloe, these past months have been a revelation. I thought my life ended when I lost Sarah. And then you appeared, pregnant and unemployed." He smiled at the description. "Breaking all my schemes and challenging me every step of the way." "It wasn't my intention to challenge you," she began, but he interrupted her gently. "It was exactly what I needed," he continued. "Someone who wouldn't treat me like a fragile widower, but like a man who was wasting his talent and his life." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Chloe's heart fluttered. "It's not what you think," he said quickly, opening the box. Inside was a key. "It's the key to our future home, if you want to share it with me." Chloe took the key with trembling hands. "Our home. I've been working on this for months," Ethan explained. "It's a house I designed with the three of us in mind. It incorporates everything I learned in my sustainable housing projects, but adapted for us. It has a studio for you, a workshop for me, and space for Lily to grow up surrounded by light and nature." Chloe didn't know what to say. Everything seemed to be moving too fast and, at the same time, at exactly the right speed. "You don't have to answer now," he added, seeing her confusion. "I know we've been rebuilding slowly, and maybe this is rushing things, but I wanted you to know that I'm completely committed to you, to our family." "Family?" Chloe repeated, the word resonating within her. "Yes, family," Ethan confirmed. "You, me, and Lily. And maybe someday, more kids running around that house." He paused. "If that's what you want, of course." Chloe looked at the key in her hand. It was solid, real, like Ethan's presence in her life these past months. Not the distant, bitter man she had initially known, but someone who had found his way back to life. Someone who had chosen to share that path with her. "Are you sure?" she finally asked. "You won't regret it?" Ethan smiled with a certainty she hadn't seen since she first met him. "Chloe, I rejected Tokyo for this, for us. It was the easiest decision I've made in years." He leaned in and kissed her softly. This kiss was different from the first. It held no doubts or guilt, only certainty and promise. "I love you," he said against her lips. "You and that little one who stole my heart the first time I held her." Chloe felt tears stream down her cheeks. "I love you too," she responded. "And yes, I want to see that house. Our home." The path had been unexpected for both of them. He had lost the will to live. She was pregnant and unemployed. They never imagined they would fall deeply in love, building something completely new and beautiful from the ruins. As they returned to the event, hand in hand, they knew that what they had built together was more solid and meaningful than any building. A second chance, a new beginning, a future neither of them believed possible when they met. What does home mean to you? How has your definition of family evolved over time? Share your reflections below. A flourishing legacy and a growing family. The afternoon sun bathed the garden in a golden light as the last guests dispersed across the sprawling space. The first anniversary of the Cultural Center had become a significant event on New York City's cultural calendar, attracting personalities from art, architecture, and politics. In a quiet corner of the garden, away from the main bustle, Chloe adjusted the small flower crown in Lily's hair. The child, just 18 months old, took wobbly steps on the grass, giggling each time she lost her balance. "Careful, my love," Chloe said, holding her little hands. "Don't rush. She's as determined as her mother," Ethan commented, approaching with 2 glasses of champagne. "Once she sets her mind to something, there's no stopping her." Chloe smiled, taking one of the glasses. "Look who's talking. The man who convinced 3 international foundations to finance sustainable housing in underserved areas. It wasn't so hard once I showed them the pilot project results," he responded modestly. "And your translation of the proposal definitely gave us the edge." In the year since the Cultural Center's inauguration, many things had changed. Chloe had turned her freelance work into a small agency specializing in architectural and urban planning translation, operating from her home studio. Ethan had revived his sustainable housing project, now with international recognition and financial support. And more importantly, they had formed a family. The house Ethan had designed for them, located on the outskirts of the city, was the perfect balance between their visions. Modern yet warm, sustainable yet comfortable, it had become the home neither of them believed possible to find. Every corner told a story of transformation and second chances. "Your speech is scheduled for 6, Chloe reminded him, checking her watch. "Are you nervous?" "No, not really," Ethan replied, watching Lily, who was now playing with the fallen flowers from her crown. "After everything we've been through, giving a speech seems quite simple." Chloe followed his gaze to the child. "Sometimes I can't believe how lucky we are," she said softly. "When I found out I was pregnant and alone, I thought my life was over. And now life is just beginning," Ethan completed, taking her hand. An event organizer approached to inform them it was time for the official speech. Ethan nodded and handed his glass to Chloe. "See you in a moment," he said, kissing her briefly. Chloe watched him walk away, remembering the first time she saw him, when she criticized his plans and he seemed like a man completely defeated by life. The transformation had been extraordinary. From the stage, Ethan thanked everyone for their presence at the Cultural Center's anniversary, highlighting the positive impact it had had on the community. Then, his gaze settled on Chloe and Lily. "A year ago, during the inauguration, I spoke about second chances and new beginnings. Today, I want to talk about the future and the legacies we build." He paused. "The Cultural Center was the project that brought me back to professional life, but my greatest work is right there," he pointed towards Chloe and Lily. "My family." The audience applauded, moved by the sincerity in his words. "I also want to officially announce the launch of the Sarah Hayes Foundation for Sustainable Architecture, which will provide scholarships to students interested in developing housing solutions for vulnerable communities." Chloe held her breath. Ethan had told her about this idea, but she didn't know it was already underway. Naming the foundation after Sarah was his way of connecting his past with his present, honoring what he had lost while building something new. After the speech and applause, the crowd returned to the celebration. Ethan found Chloe and Lily under a tree, away from the bustle. "What did you think?" he asked, taking Lily in his arms. "It was perfect," Chloe responded. "The foundation is a beautiful tribute. Sarah would have approved of what we're doing," he said softly. "She would have loved Lily, and she would have liked you." It was the first time Ethan had spoken of Sarah in such a way, imagining a world where the two most important women in his life could coexist. Chloe understood the gift that comment represented, the final proof that he had made peace with his past. "I have something for you," Ethan said, taking an envelope from his inner jacket pocket. Chloe opened it curiously. Inside were architectural plans, but not for a conventional building. "A greenhouse?" she asked, studying the design. "An extension of our house," he explained, "for when the new arrival comes." Chloe looked up, surprised. "How did you know?" "I only just found out yesterday." Ethan smiled. "I didn't know. I drew these plans a month ago." He caressed her cheek. "But I know you, Chloe. The same look you had when you came to the interview looking for work, determined despite the circumstances." Chloe clung to him, touched by his intuition and the precision of his observations. Lily, caught in the middle of the hug, giggled happily. "We'll be 4, Chloe whispered against his chest. "A complete family," Ethan responded. "Something neither of us imagined we'd have when we met." As the sun set over New York City, the small family returned home. A home built on unexpected but solid foundations, designed by a man who had lost the will to live until a pregnant, unemployed woman showed him that there are always new blueprints to draw and new structures to raise, especially when everything seemed to have fallen apart. And in that shared imperfection, they had found something neither sought, but both desperately needed. A home where love didn't divide, but multiplied, designed to withstand life's storms and capture every ray of light the future could offer. Thank you for following Ethan and Chloe's journey with us. If this story of resilience, unexpected love, and building anew touched your heart, please show us your support. Like this video to help us reach more people with inspiring true stories. Share it with a friend who needs a reminder that even after loss, new beginnings are possible. And subscribe to our channel for more captivating narratives that explore the depth of human connection and the power of second chances. We love hearing from you. Leave a comment below with your favorite moment from Chloe and Ethan's story.